We are live. I am here with my friend David. We're talking on things about God, of God, as God, all these God conversations. It's, it's nice to see you. We haven't had one of these in quite a while.
I know. Whose fault is that?
Would it be okay to say it's your fault? Makes me feel a
It's,
lot better.
well, I think we're both negligent. Our apologies. Our apologies for those that have been.
I know our one listener has been very upset that there's been no new material. Well, today, uh,
We're gonna make up for it.
we're going to make up for it. This is going to be incredible for the handful of people in the universe that are concerned about liberation. We have the shortcut to liberation. So, uh, if you wouldn't mind expanding on that, on your thought about that, if you could define liberation and then go into what you mean by the shortcut to liberation.
Oh, yeah, I gotta define liberation. All right.
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about? What does that even mean?
I think liberation, to the best of my understanding, is fully awakening to your true nature and the true nature of reality.
Mm,
Yeah, it's the best of my understanding, right?
yeah.
So, liberation is a term that really only people that have studied some sort of Eastern philosophy will be familiar with. So, this one is not so much for just the average listener, but for people who've been kind of studying Eastern philosophy. So, I just was prompted to go ahead and just do this one and talk to those people. So what's really interesting is I stumbled across a series of books, Transylvania series books, right? Which really interesting. Whether it's supposed to be true, who knows? But I think had some very interesting things in it. And one of them was the story of this guy that was transported to Tibet to meet a goddess.
Transported? Do you mean metaphysically?
Yeah, metaphysically transported to Tibet to meet a goddess, and it was his job. She was giving him a sacred parchment that was thousands of years old, that gave methods for humanity to rapidly evolve.
Mm.
And then he had some help in just kind of translating it and bringing. It was in ancient Tibetan, and translated to English and Romanian because he was Romanian, and then English, and that's the background of it. So what was interesting, I thought there was five main points, and they were all pretty good. It's more like understanding that you create the universe by how you see it, and some of those things. But the last one, the fifth one, and I'll read it to you. You who delight the spirits of three worlds. This was this great Tibetan teacher saint was speaking to one of his highest disciple. Listen to what I'm telling you now. Project your consciousness unto the highest peak of the kingdom, and you will thus obtain the light of eternal happiness. And that was then he goes on to say these five methods are meant for the um, evolution of every soul in the kingdom. May you be their guiding shield. So, and then they go on in the commentary after, because these stanzas are very short. Then they do an extensive commentary, and they said the last stanza of the parchment practically gives you the instantaneous method for spiritual freedom. Considered the top of the yoga and tantric practice of Tibet, this technique is known as Phowa, Phowa. In principle, it refers to the complex projection of the higher consciousness of man who practices the technique using a very secret initiation method, which is not then mentioned in the text.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
not explain that.
classic. Where it's like, okay, this is all you need, but I'm sorry, it's secret. You got to find a teacher that.
That's right.
So fortunately for me, my teacher Baba never uh, did that, never withheld. He just basically said, "Here's what you do." And so it brought to mind the two things that he had said. One was the Gayatri. He said, you can give up all other mantras and all other prayers, but never give up the Gayatri. He said, basically, Gayatri is all you need for liberation. And then the second one that he said, this is all you need, was the mantra, the only mantra he ever gave, which is, I am God, I am no different from God. And I realized that they actually merge, those two merge together. So without going into the great depth, for people who want to hear what the Gayatri should sound like, if you go to YouTube and Sai Baba chants the Gayatri, you'll hear how it's properly chanted. And then you can just pull up the Gayatri and you can get it probably almost anywhere on Google. But my understanding of the Gayatri, to make it simple, is it's three three statements or three states of mind and heart, and then one request. So the first statement, and what's really interesting is Baba had said the Gayatri is the summation of the Vedas. So the Vedas, and once again, I'm talking to people who have studied this, are sacred, some of the most sacred scriptures of India. And they're extensive. But he said the Gayatri is the summation of the Vedas. So this is the Vedas boiled down to its most simplest form. So here's my interpretation of the three heart mind concepts and then the requests. So the first one is acknowledging God who is everywhere. The second one is God who is everything. I thank you for it. Third one is I meditate upon your divine effulgence or your divine presence, your divine light. And then the fourth one is the request, which is awaken me completely to this. So for me, what I found the secret of the Gayatri, at least in my practice, was you don't just say it from your mind. You include it into the heart. So the first phase of God who is everywhere, you just stop and think that there's nowhere in existence that the infinite creator is not. And feel that expansion of your mind and heart. Feel that God who is everywhere, everywhere, literally, virtually, nowhere that is not God. And so you feel that expansion in your heart. And then the second one is God who is everything. So everything you see is part of God. Every experience you've had, everything, every good thing, every hard thing, everything that we consider beautiful, everything we consider ugly, it's all God. And then to express gratitude to God, thank you for providing this opportunity. So I think you can almost look at it as this cosmic amusement park in which we have our existence, and drama and trauma and growth and love and disappointment. It's like going to the most amazing amusement park you can ever think of, and just saying to the people that built it, thank you. This was just wonderful. So God who is everything, feel gratitude for that. Thank you for providing this life and all these experiences, right? Then the third one is I meditate upon thy divine effulgence. So for me, is I put my awareness on your presence that I feel as this joy and peace and love in my heart, right? So I put my awareness on you as this high vibrational feeling of love, of joy, of peace, right? So then the last one is you now put this request to the infinite creator. Awaken me completely to this great truth and understanding. So that's supposed to be done 3 times a day. But if you do it and do the expansion of heart and mind at the same time, you feel it's very, very powerful. What Baba said is, he said, you're asking for from the creator exactly what he wants to give you. Whereas, if you're asking for a car or whatever promotion or a spouse, I mean, that will come when the time is appropriate. But this is what the creator wants to give you right now.
Hmm.
And then the second one, and when the creator wants to give it to you right now, I used to think, okay, just the skies will roll back, physical reality roll back, and you'll have cosmic consciousness. Well, I think every time you do that from a sincere heart, as you go through those 3 phases, you are a little more awake after that.
Hmm.
So it's like being given to you in the appropriate stages for you, and you'll feel that. And if you say this Gayatri 3 times a day, it's really does start to shift your consciousness that this is all God. This is all God. And I can immediately feel his presence as that love and peace and joy within me. So I'm awakening more and more and more. So the people, the cats, the dogs, the sky, the difficulties, the joys, that's all God. And you should practice being grateful for all of it. And that grateful heart is a tremendous shift in consciousness. Then when he said, I'm God, I'm no different from God, he goes, this will help you more than anything else. Well, I realized that's actually a deeper instruction on the third one, which is I meditate upon your divine effulgence. So one of the most powerful ways to do that for me, there's a guy named David Icke. So those who know him, those who don't know him, David Icke. And he had said he found the most powerful way to shift his consciousness is to say some variants of, I am infinite awareness having a human experience. I'm infinite awareness having a human experience. And if you let that shift down into your heart, I am infinite awareness having a human experience, you'll feel it starts to create a profound shift in your consciousness. He said, if you do it for a week, he said, you'll never be the same. But I realized that's just another way of saying I'm God. So I realized, and that worked for me better than saying I'm God. And I realized that the term God for me is just so big that it almost doesn't work very well for me. Where if I break my understanding of God into digestible pieces, right? Like taking white light and breaking it with a prism into the different colors. So you could say, I'm infinite consciousness having a David experience, or I'm infinite love having a David experience. I am infinite peace having a human experience. I'm infinite joy. So peace, love, joy, awareness, those are all aspects of the infinite creator. So for me, that actually works better. That works better because it just does. I think God just is like conceptually overwhelming for me. Whereas if I say I break it into I'm infinite peace, and you really think about that till you begin to feel it. And that's the trick. You use the mind to delve into the concept till higher levels of your own awareness begin to respond back with the answer. That's like saying, who am I? That's peace everywhere, right? Your subconscious raises its hand and goes, I know. And you begin to feel that peace. Do it a few times. Who am I? That's peace everywhere. beyond time and space. We've gone through this before. This is a powerful method of shifting your awareness, right? So I realized those all tie in together. Those tie in together. And this is getting back to that ancient Tibetan parchment. Listen to what I'm telling you now. Project your consciousness into the highest peak of the kingdom, and you will thus obtain the light of eternal happiness. Now, in the first one, he talks about the highest peak is love. So putting those two together, project your consciousness into the highest peak, which is love. So I am eternal love, having a human experience. Well, what's that doing? But projecting your mind onto the highest peak. But they don't give you then the technique. So I dare say, try the technique of saying it until you begin to feel love or peace or joy, and then drop the mind, drop the thinking, and go into the feeling. And to me, that, if that's not the technique they're talking about, it's certainly a powerfully similar techniques that's coming from my teacher. I am God, I am God, I am no different from God. I am eternal love. I am eternal love experiencing a human life. So if you're just watching this with your intellect, it will seem like anything else. But if you just take a moment, and I would precede that then, it's like God who is everywhere. God who is everything. Everything in my life that I've ever experienced, everyone, everything, the good and the bad, it's all God. Thank you. I'm grateful for this wonderful adventure you've provided for me. I meditated upon thy divine effulgence. I am infinite love, having a human experience. Awaken me completely to who I truly am. So in that Tibetan thing, they go, this is like the instantaneous methodology. And once again, my teacher said, Gayatri, so it's all you need if you understand it. And then he said, what'll help you more than anything else is I am God, I am God, I am no different from God. I say this is the shortcut to liberation because it cuts past, it takes you past mind, takes you past all your accumulated patterns and nonsense and misunderstandings, and you begin to directly feel a higher truth directly. You're bypassing mind, and you leave the mind behind, and you begin to experience directly as feeling. And I've told you, when I take rooms full of people into that experience, all the questions end. They don't even want to open their eyes. All the questions, there's no, because once you begin to feel that directly, there's nothing to ask. There's nothing to ask. And so to me, this is what my teacher, Baba, was talking about. He would say, oh, yeah, he said, you need to do this, you need to do that, chant the name of God, and do this and do that. And then other times you go, none of that will get you there. None of that will get you there. This is what he's referring to, is the method that will get you there. Otherwise, if you keep mucking around in your mind, it's like when we discussed the 7 tasks of Hercules, they were impossible to do. And that's basically trying to achieve this awakening through your mind alone. Maybe it'll get you there. It might take a real long time, because every time you activate the mind, it actually is activating Maya. It's activating the illusion that you are separate. Whereas when you start going beyond mind with these techniques, you begin to feel the truth of the oneness. So it just all starts just getting left behind. And I told you, Baba had given that he was teaching a student in his little apartment, and there was some dirty dishes in the sink, and it was a glass that had some old milk and some old bread in it, and he just turned the water on and just started filling the glass. And as it filled and just kept overflowing, 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 eventually it was nothing but clear water in the glass. And he said, this is the method. So when you tap into that beingness, it's just pulling this very high frequency energy into this composite being that are, and it just begins to wash out all those old patterns. And it's because you're beginning to experience it directly. And that's why there's no questions when I do it, because people are stepping beyond mind and they're feeling it as a profound truth of beingness in which there's nothing to ask. Then it's just a matter of spending more and more time in this beingness. But I mean, even if you just practice it a few minutes a day, it begins to break the heavy chains of the mind binding to you, to all your thoughts and patterns and attachments. And it's, to me, it's almost like letting a bird out of the cage. I mean, it's what it feels like a lot. And the more that bird flies around out in the sky where it's its natural state, it really becomes more and more reluctant to get back in the cage. And that's what it feels like to me. It's like just being freed. And then the sense of the individualized self begins to dissipate, the sense of the many, the one appearing as the many, begins to evaporate, and you start feeling the great truth that all there is the one, that the many is an illusion. So there it is. That's I don't have anything higher.
It seems to me that that our brothers and sisters are all these humans that we consider another, different from me, whether it's another that I think is personal, like my kid, or another in like a work environment that is doing me wrong or good, or another that I don't even know who they are, right? Someone driving down the road on the street. They have all these ideas that I have to really make up to keep them separate as a separate person. But what you're talking about in my mind, breaks down those barriers, uh, and it makes it easy to love somebody because.
And I think it starts feeling like a direct perception. It goes from a mental concept where you start to feel that expanded state, and you start to feel those barriers that create the appearance of the many starts to get thinner. It gets thinner and thinner. And I remember Edgar Casey said, he goes, one of the ways to tell if you're on the right track spiritually is, are you starting to feel that more and more people are your friends, and then they start feeling like family, and then they start feeling like part of you, right? And what that is he's saying, as your consciousness expands and this illusion begins to get broken down, you start to feel more and more a part of everything, right? You look at the tree and you just start to feel just love for the tree. It starts to feeling like part of you, right? Or animals, or all of that. And that's to me, that was a really good simple way to tell whether you're on the right track or not. If you're feeling more and more special over everybody else, yeah, you're going in the wrong direction, right? You start becoming more and more judgmental on people, you're going in the wrong direction. I think we talked about it. I had that discussion with my daughter, that Jesus said, judge not lest you be judged. Well, I flip it on its head and say, you should judge everything. But the only judgment that moves you in the direction that Jesus was talking about is judge everything. This too is God, which gets back to the Gayatri second part. Everything is God. Thank you for it, right? So that's the judgment that everything is separate and less than you, or not worthy of love. That's the judgment that lowers your vibration. You can feel it yourself. I mean, if you, let's just say you did some of the stuff in the morning and you're just feeling peaceful and expanded and loving, and then you're walking, you go to work, and there's somebody that you have a hard time seeing God. And then, somewhere in your consciousness, you go, what a freaking idiot, right? And just feel what happens to your vibration. Instantly
Mm-hmm.
drops, instantly drops. And to me, that's the analogy on that is Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden, before they were aware of the the judgment of good and evil, everything was easy. Life was easy. Life was joyful. Everything came easy. The moment they had the knowledge of good and evil, well, it wasn't the knowledge of good and evil. It's the judgment they started applying immediately after. They judged themselves naked and they were embarrassed, and all that judgment, boom, now they're thrown out of the garden. Now everything's hard. Now everything's difficult. Right. So to me, that's symbolic of when the only judgment that you use is this too is God and perfect in its own way, then you feel what happens to your vibration. When you keep that higher vibration, what my teacher says is your vibratory state reflects back from the universe. So the higher your vibratory state, the more just beauty and love and good and peace just starts reflecting back to you from people and things and events, and everything just starts to shift. Everything starts to shift. The power of your mind is a microcosmic representation of the power of the creator that you create with your every thought. And if you believe that to be true, then think about what you think about. Right? If you're creating the universe you experience with your every thought, how well does that match up with the life you're experiencing?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, it matches up perfectly, but not instantly, right? We don't necessarily see an instant reflection, but it might be a delay for it to manifest, but it's going to manifest.
Or maybe just your beliefs that have a hard time shifting. You do always see what you believe, but the beliefs are difficult for us to shift, no matter what we say. Like, oh, I believe God's love. I believe everybody's spirit, except for that asshole right there, And
Well,
we have these beliefs that we have a hard time releasing,
no,
or
that's true, but
special
that's
circumstances.
why Jesus gave techniques. Baba gave techniques. Jesus said, "Judge not." He said, forgive. Don't judge. Forgive. What are some of the other things? But those are all techniques to practice. And I was just talking to somebody this week. I said, one of the things is to practice loving everyone as a piece of God. I said, but some people are really lovable and make it easy. And
Mm-hmm.
some people are really, really hard to love. But to
Mm-hmm.
paraphrase Jesus, he goes, I'm not at all impressed if you love people that love you. Big freaking deal. Even the hypocrites and the Pharisees do that. He said, I'm asking you to love the people that are harming you and doing their best to do bad
Mm-hmm.
things to you. Well, once again, he's saying,
Yeah.
look, it's practice. You got to work at it. So that's the beauty then of a difficulty, is that's an opportunity to build the muscle of seeing God in that. It's easy to see God when somebody gives you a wonderful meal or you get a bonus or something wonderful happens. That's easy, big freaking deal. But can you see God in the difficulties? Can you love those that are ugly in whatever way you consider ugly personality, ugly heart, ugly physically, whatever it makes you push it away?
Mm-hmm.
That's the time to say, okay, let me practice seeing God. And that's, if we're almost out of time, huh?
Probably.
All right, remaining meeting time. Okay, we got a few minutes, but that was a revelation that came to me. God gave to me this last week.
Mm.
It's I have a hard time loving people like top political figures that I think are destroying this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying to see the good and trying to see the good and it's like there's no freaking good in these people, right? Well, maybe they're loyal,